and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in again. I know it's been a while. I think so too. It's just been a crazy ride. And today, very coincidentally, I found out I got my bachelor's degree. So yay! I'm so happy. I got my bachelor's degree in medicine. And now on to a nice vacation because I'm really tired. So that's why I got the time to talk about her. This beautiful, I think 1860's jacket I got from a museum in the north of Holland, which was discontinued and they were getting rid of their things. And I was very lucky to be one of the few that could go there, and I bought this beauty. And it's quite a lovely jacket in a really nice green, and I was just over the moon with it. I mean, look at her. Wouldn't you want to wear this all the time? I mean, look at the waist you need to have, but you know, apart from that. And so I got this jacket, and then I talked to one of my friends and she said, but Inge, you touched that with your bare hands. And I said, well, yes, I needed to feel the lovely silk. And then she said, but what about the arsenic? And then I was like, and after my friend told me this, I thought, well, thank you family and friends, my funeral will be on Monday, just like the good hypochondriac I am. And I felt so stupid because I had heard about all the tales about the arsenic in Victorian homes, and I just felt so stupid that I just completely forgot about it. So what did I do? I started writing, I started emailing to all kinds of places in Holland, which I cannot name because it was a very special opportunity I got to this further investigated, so I can't really share the names or the places I went to, and I could go to get this tested for arsenic. And today was finally the day. I went and got it tested, and I traveled to where I needed to be and looked at the lovely Dutch flat surface views we have here, and went and had to give my idea, and they gave me a visitor's pass, and I talked to this man for a while. He was actually an expert in dyes and very good in chemistry, which I'm not, so I didn't always understand what he said. So I did find out that I should have paid more attention in chemistry class, so sorry mevrouw Ibega, because I did my best. But this man was also part of investigating all kinds of dyes used in paintings. The apparatus was some kind of, looked like a X-ray gun, semi the same as the ones used for checking speed limits by the police, at least here in Holland. It used X-rays to determine which chemicals or chemical substances were inside the fabric of this jacket. So he measured it for 1 whole minute, and the results came back, and they were just a list of the table of the, it was just like the table of the elements, except for that these elements were in this jacket. And I have them here. And he measured the substances in parts per million. And I have there were many, of course, but he couldn't really pinpoint them all because, of course, there could be 10 million things in it. But what we found was that there was iron in it, Fe, and those were 2,356 parts per million with an error margin of just 46. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said that iron was also used in Prussian blue, and Prussian blue was a color that was also used in dyes, and he had a theory that maybe this jacket was made from Prussian blue and a yellow color to create this green color. And the iron was also used to fasten the dyes, as it were, onto the fabric so that it would keep nice and longer. And the arsenic came back with 6 parts per million with an error margin of 2, which means that there was a very, very low concentration. And I asked him, when do you think that an arsenic outcome is high enough to say that there's arsenic dye? And he said, well, it needs to be 100 or a few or multiple hundreds to say that there's arsenic in it. So that was nice to know, because I had like felt this lovely fabric and I just felt so stupid. But no worries, there was nothing wrong. There was also copper in it, and this was 8 parts per million with an error margin of 4. And he said that this was also quite low, and he said that this could even be from the machine itself, because I found out that arsenic is a byproduct of copper manufacturing, so it could be that they're like slightly linked, but he said don't worry, not toxic, not dangerous. He said but just still don't, in Dutch we say sobbelen, and I guess the right word is don't suckle the fabric, and well, I promise I won't. Oh, and I forgot to mention a very fun detail. Namely that he found out that the sulfur amount in this jacket was quite high, somewhere about 16k, and the error margin was just 235. And he said that high amounts of sulfur are found in wool and silk. So that really made my day, because now I know that this jacket is surely silk, even though, well, it kind of looks like silk, but I'm not an expert, so I'm really glad that I got to know that too. And we actually talked about the story about that maybe Napoleon died of arsenic poisoning, and I actually dived into some literature to see if this was true. And I found out a couple of things, namely that in the Journal of Clinical Chemistry, I found an article concerning Napoleon and his poisoning of arsenic, because the man there told me he had heard that arsenic was also used in wallpaper, which is true. It was used in pesticides, in makeup, in wallpaper, in fabric dyes. It was even used in food coloring. So that's true. And he said that when the wallpapers on the walls would get wet or moist, the arsenic inside would get to a volatile state, or like more like a gas, and that could be inhaled, and that's why people could get sick from it. But in this article from Clinical Chemistry, I'll link it down below so you can check it out. They go into all the kinds of reasons why Napoleon didn't die from arsenic poisoning, because he didn't have the symptoms. He did have arsenic in his wallpapers, but that was not enough to make him sick. They also found a cancer that probably killed him, but you know, go check it out if you want to see it. Something else that was quite funny, which I found out, was that arsenic was also used in Fowler's solution, which was a kind of tonic that was used for medical purposes. And apparently Napoleon was very skeptic about doctors, and apparently he said, "You medical people will have more lives to answer for in the other world than even we generals." Well, you're right. If they put arsenic in it, I agree. But I still wanted to find out what would have happened if I would have been poisoned. And there are two types of poisoning, acute or chronic. And with the acute type, I didn't really find very reliable sources. It was on Wikipedia. It said nausea, vomiting, convulsions. You would have discoloration of your fingernails, vomiting blood, all kinds of those nasty things, and then you'll die. Luckily that didn't happen. I'm still here after 1 year and my jacket doesn't contain arsenic. But what happens if you have chronic arsenic poisoning? And then you'll have something called arsenicosis. And I found this in the Handbook of Arsenic Toxicology. And there are so many things that go wrong when you have arsenic poisoning. I'll name a few, namely you have skin problems, chronic lung diseases, cerebrovascular diseases, you can have cancers. There are so many things that can go wrong, and this also happened in Victorian times. In Victorian times, people, and especially factory workers, would get sick, and also copper miners that would inhale copper and arsenic while they were mining. And a very important figure, namely William Morris, was a very well-known artist, and he made several Victorian wallpapers that are lovely. Look them up on Google or look at some examples I will show. He was a very successful businessman also, and he had copper mines, and his copper miners would get sick, and instead of really getting it looked into, he would say that they were bitten by witch fever, as well as you do, I guess. This was later, of course, debunked, but I think it lasted until, I think it was about around the 1860s that people got aware that arsenic wasn't such a good toxin to play around with. But it wasn't until 1903 that in the UK legislation was passed to limit the use of arsenic in food and drink, because as I said earlier, it was also used for food coloring in pastries at the bakers, because yum. That about that. And I thought that maybe now that it was all safe and sound to touch this lovely, lovely, lovely jacket, we will go and have a look closer, won't we? Well, Let's go.
Here you can see the lovely jacket, and I'm zooming in on a detail on the inside of the arms where you can see that it's been lovely pleated. So when these pagoda sleeves fall open, you still have a nice view. Here you can see the beautiful lace, which is quite black and crisp, and it actually felt quite modern, which the man at the museum and I debated over. Here you can see that I'm opening the jacket, and you can see that it's partially boned, and I will zoom in on some details where you can see the hand sewing, and then I almost don't feel so self-conscious about my own hand sewing because it's not that great. But you can see that it has been cut for the ease, and here I will follow the seams to the arm's eye. In the neck we can see a little bit of a sloppy hand sewing from where the lace is attached on the back. And I think the lining is glaze cotton or linen, but I do not know as I'm not a costume historian or something like that, like Abby Cox. So go check her out. And here I'm showing you the waistband that I think was attached on the inside of the jacket when the wearer was wearing it, and you can see it's super tiny. So jealous on the waist of this person. It was closed by 4 hooks, and these 4 hooks attached to 4 eyes on the other side. Quite an easy way to close this garment, and here is some extra close-up from the lace on the front. This is the back of the jacket, and you can see it goes into a narrow tip. You can also see that it's double piped, which gives a very elegant effect. Here you can see that actually the silk is in a quite good condition, but there are some places where this is not the case. However, I still feel very fortunate to have this in my collection, and if anybody knows anything else apart from that's from the 1860s with pagoda sleeves and its jacket, I would love to know.
Now we've reached the end of the video, and I really hope you liked it. It was something completely different than sewing, but I still really enjoyed giving a bit of a small lecture about arsenic, even though I'm not an expert. But I'll have some links in the description below of people who know more about it than me. But it still just fascinates me, and as green is one of my favorite colors, I just had to know more about arsenic and if I could die from touching my lovely jacket. But thank you so much for watching, and give me a like, favorite, subscribe, comment, you know the whole deal. And just let me know what you would like to see next. And then I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye!